Okay, so what did you eat for breakfast?
I never eat breakfast until I am talking to someone like you.
Welcome to Music on Your Own Terms, the podcast that aims to help musicians develop an entrepreneurial mindset through interviews, as well as discussing resources, concepts, successes, and more. Providing a platform to talk about negative emotions such as anxiety and depression in order to help overcome them in the context of music and reduce the social stigma. This is episode 150.
This episode is sponsored by Ignite Your Music Career. You may remember in episode 90 I chatted to Craig Dodge about sync licensing and how he makes a living through writing music for TV, video games, and film. Musicians all over the world subscribe to Ignite Your Music Career and earn more royalties, more upfront sync fees, and more recurring revenue from their music. Whether you're a composer, singer-songwriter, band, beatmaker, or instrumentalist, your music can be earning you more money. Internationally acclaimed composer, musician, and music educator Craig Dodge has licensed his music in more than 1,000 TV show episodes, films, video games, and ads all over the world, and he will show you how you can too. Ignite gives you the information you need in a simple, accessible format, and you learn at your own pace. For just $6 a month, you get a video lesson each week on topics related to music licensing, from writing techniques to how to find your markets, and everything in between. You also get tools and activities to build the skills you need to be successful, and each lesson includes a royalty-free sound pack to download and use in your own music. The key to success in the music business today is to diversify your sources of revenue. Ignite will show you how. For more information or to subscribe to Ignite, visit the website at taris-studios.com or click the link on musiconyourownterms.com. Joining me for this episode is Mackenzie Kristjón, a Hamilton, Ontario-based musician that I met through Indie Week earlier this year and contributed some background vocals to his upcoming album. We chat about This Mad Desire, Mac's musical project, his recording experience using free studio time through Hamilton Public Library, and singing in front of the children's section in a glass room. Mac also shares a troubling story about being brutally assaulted, his love of collaboration with other musicians, and how he strives to help others in need. If you enjoy the podcast and want to show your support, I'd be really grateful if you would consider signing up for the mailing list to stay in the loop with everything going on with the show. Just head over to musiconyourownterms.com and click the link. While you're there, you can also visit the store and grab some merch, or just buy me a coffee and help out with the running costs of the show. Thanks for listening. Welcome to another episode. Today I'm hanging out with Mackenzie Kristjón, who is also known as This Mad Desire. So how are you and welcome?
Excellent. It's not me that's known as that. It's just my rock and roll brand. But I'm known as Mac. But the good news is that's hilarious. If you don't mind explaining to everyone who you are as well, just for 1 second. Obviously, you did me a huge favor by singing on one of my tracks, and you did something the most hilarious thing I've ever heard about.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so obviously, if you're a regular listener, you know who I am. But yeah, I did meet Mackenzie at Indie Week, and he put out that he wanted to have some people collaborate on a couple of songs. And yeah, what I did was I sang a kind of Americanized version of the lyrics, and then I just went and did my. It's not really. You did say Cockney, but it's not really Cockney because I've never lived in London. But just a kind of like a colloquial British accent, just to force the way I sound. Not really how I talk per se, just like not really Cockney, but somewhere in between, I guess.
But the funny thing was, yeah. You said, and you told me it was Cockney, but it obviously was not. But that's no problem. But the funny thing was, I took both voices that you gave me, and it worked out perfect. It worked out perfect. Yeah. So, what do you want to talk about?
Well, let's start by introducing what this mad desire is, and then we'll go from there.
Sure, that sounds perfect. Yeah. So obviously, I live in Hamilton, Ontario, which is near Toronto. If people don't know where Toronto is, it's the center of the universe. And a lot of people that I work with are from New York or Los Angeles, or from places like Texas or San Francisco or Philadelphia or everywhere. And the great news about the last year and a half in the way that I've been working is through the pandemic, collaborating a lot
Mm-hmm.
with people who are in every town, in every community, and all that kind of stuff, right? And it's been a weird time for a lot of people. But at the same time, I put out a record, I put out 3 books, and grateful to keep working. I've got a new record coming out,
Mm-hmm.
which you sang on, of course. And at the same time, there's so much interesting stuff happening all around, right?
Absolutely. I mean, where did it start for you, though? What, as far as this mad desire, and where did you get the music bug to begin with?
Well, it was a pretty troublesome thing for me, I guess, when I was a child. I have 2 hands, like you do, right? Like you got 2 hands.
Mm-hmm.
But my mother saw and my dad saw and everyone saw that my hands do the same thing all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents decided when I was like a really, really young child that I should see a physical therapist because they thought there was something wrong with me, right? And there was something wrong with me. Like my brain didn't work. I have a mirroring issue and my hands don't work.
Mm.
So if you play the piano and you understand there's a left hand and right hand, well, my mother, was told by the doctor in Calgary, Alberta, that well, he might never play the piano.
Okay.
So the next day, she put me in piano lessons, and so that was the start of my musical journey. Really, is just getting into playing the piano,
Mm-hmm.
and I got to grade 8 piano, which is in Royal Conservatory in Canada, which is a huge achievement for someone that has no correct understanding of how their hands work, you know.
Okay.
But it's pretty tough to get to grade 8.
Mm-hmm.
Grade 10 is the top. Grade 10 is the top.
Right.
Grade 8 is not so bad. But anyway, I was 16 when we had to give it up because I was busy making songs and just had to do other stuff. But I'm lucky because if I didn't get that push into being a piano player, I would be nowhere.
Mm.
The piano is my art.
So does that mean that you're basically working harder to force your hands to do something different?
Yeah, that's
Like
exactly what that means. Yeah.
basically the piano lessons have programmed your neurons or you've
Hmm.
basically built the new neurons by piano lessons to kind of force them to work independently.
Yeah, it's mind over matter for sure. And then
Right.
and then eventually I learned how to play the guitar. And the guitar is the main instrument they play on stage and stuff like that. But the guitar is an even easier instrument to play for me because your hands only do one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like imagine like I can hold a well, I mean, I'm not a finger picker. I try and do that, but I hold a guitar pick in one hand and I can pick anything I want with that hand doing like this kind of motion.
Mm-hmm.
But the other hand, I can do anything I want, right?
Right.
And you're a guitar player, you understand what I'm telling you.
Absolutely.
So it's a little bit easier on the guitar, a little bit. Yeah, I can play the piano, but I have to use like a little bit more simple fingerings sometimes compared to what I tell my musicians to do.
Okay. Just for my benefit, do you have trouble like, or growing up, did you have trouble like learning to tie your shoes, for instance, or stuff that required a lot more dexterity?
Nah.
I don't know, knife and
Well,
fork, or was there anything that you, oh, typing one, did the piano lessons help you learn to like type and,
yeah, yeah, I'll say number one, the piano lessons obviously were beneficial. I can type faster than anyone else can because I'm used to the concept of how that works.
Mm,
And it was, yeah, the greatest therapy just to have piano lessons.
awesome.
But I don't want people to think that piano's a total therapy. Piano's amazing just in and of itself. It's not
Oh,
because,
for sure.
of me.
Right. So where did this Mad Desire come from?
Well, I wrote this song called This Mad Desire in 2006 or 2007-ish. And I was looking for a new name for my project. And I wanted something that was 3 words. Eventually, I picked on that one. But it was also like, there's like a lot of bands, like there's Black Sabbath, there's Judas Priest, who wrote 2 words, Led Zeppelin, 2 words, right?
Hmm.
And then eventually it came to be like prepositional phrases, like in this moment, right? People like stuff like that. And I thought this mad desire fit in within this moment in a great way. And this mad desire just felt like it's a great expression of, first of all, it feels good. And also, I've seen, I've been in like many clubs, and sometimes the owners are like, this mad desire. And then they start to feel like, as they look at their wives, they they start to think, "Oh my lord," and
What's
that's
going on?
right. And they start to think to themselves, "Well, that's very interesting, right?" And I thought that is a nice way of thinking about things, isn't it? So that was pretty much it. Yeah.
Awesome. So, as I said, we met at Indie Week. So, what I wanted to do is ask something that I should probably do in the podcast more often. Is a lot of musicians don't like to talk about what they sound like. They want, oh, I'm something you've never heard of, but that doesn't help anyone because you got to fill out your, when you're putting up music, you got to fill out that information to say I sound like X. So, what do you sound like?
One of my favorite reviews came back to me, and they said, this is from someone in England,
Hmm.
and they said that I sound like David Bowie on Neil. No, no, wait a minute. Let me go backwards. It's like Neil Young on David Bowie drugs. And then they had, a question about, their song. They're like, it's kind of a little bit like the Pixies
Hmm.
meets, and they had like all kinds of other like references. But the funniest thing, like I put out a song called Operators Are Standing By in 2017. And the funniest day for me ever was I put out that song, and the same day, there was one guy who came up to me. He said, "Oh, Mac, I heard this song. I love it so, so much. I want to say it reminds me of Marilyn Manson." I was like, "All right."
Okay.
I was like, "All right, okay, no worries." And then 20 seconds later, or like 20 minutes later, pretty much, this other woman, she came forward and she said, "Mac, I love this song so, so much. It reminds me, I want to say Supertramp."
Okay.
Same song.
I can see that more than Marilyn Manson for sure.
Yeah, well, I thought, if I am having that kind of, effect on people, that they're thinking these kinds of diverse thoughts,
Hmm.
nothing
I
wrong with
mean,
that.
nope, not at all. I mean, I would say I would propose that you might have listened to or be a fan of The Cure.
I'm certainly not.
No, you don't like The Cure?
I've never even listened to any records by The Cure, but I
Wow.
can tell you one story about The Cure. I was in Toronto one time, and just after you heard about that song Friday, I'm in
Yeah.
love and everything like that. So
Hmm.
just imagine I was working for a radio station, and I had to go to Toronto for God knows no reason. You heard about the Fiery Furnaces?
No.
And there's a band called the Fiery Furnaces, and I had to go see them in Toronto. And I had to go to like a pre-party, and I walked into that pre-party. I didn't know anyone, but my music director from the radio station I was working at took me in there, and it turned out that her friend had just been recording a music video for The Cure.
Hmm.
And then this band called Sloan showed up.
Okay.
They were a huge band in Canada at the time. And then we all went to see the Fiery Furnaces. But it was so crazy because, yeah, I'd never listened to The Cure.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I just get that. Not so much aesthetic, but
And you know what? I have nothing against The Cure at all.
right. Just not something you've basically ingested.
No, no, I never listened to them. No.
Interesting.
Other than that one song, which I know. Like, I know, like, whatever their hit songs are.
Everyone knows that
Yeah,
song,
yeah,
one song.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've never listened to any of their records at all. But maybe I'll check them out. I'll check them out for sure. I prefer bands like The Cult, to be honest.
I love The Cult. Absolutely. Yeah, great band. So you mentioned just before we got on, as of today, I just released my episode with Kate Schutt. So
Yeah.
and you mentioned you worked with her, so that's a nice little aside.
I didn't work with her, but I definitely know her because we used to work with the same record producer in
Oh, okay, yeah.
Canada. Yeah, yeah. We didn't work together at all. No. I don't want you to get misconception at all. But yeah, she's definitely, we're definitely from the same community in Guelph, Ontario, which is,
Mm-hmm.
she said she was in Canada. That's where it was. We were lucky to work with the same record producer, Andrew McPherson. It's funny. You seem to always find the people that I know. Like you met my friend Cass,
Yep.
and you told me how much you met Kate. But it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it seems that the more I do these interviews, the more people I meet, the smaller the community gets. And it's what I really want to do is do the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, do that for the podcast and
Yeah,
see
yeah,
if I can keep it within the 6 degrees.
yeah.
Canceling myself out, obviously,
I
that wouldn't
I actually wouldn't be
be
surprised if you
fair.
could. If you could, I'm sure you'd be surprised. You are probably in there. The people that you've spoken to are pretty good. Yeah, the only thing I wanted to talk to you about, just to be clear, is the one thing I care about more than anything is collaboration.
Hmm.
Not just do we collaborate, but obviously that's the number one way that I work. And sometimes when you don't think about it, you can collaborate more because sometimes people are feeling negative about themselves, right? Like just imagine like you have been in situations that are not the best,
Hmm.
but you want to reach out. In the musical world, you can these days. There's almost nowhere that you can't look right now that you can't collaborate. That's the great news about life these days and about how the internet works and how about everything works in technology, right?
Hmm.
Like it's just so much easier. Like, I was just talking to a woman yesterday. She moved from Prince Edward Island, which is the smallest province in Canada.
Hmm.
It's like the size of, I think it's like the size of Long Island or something. Like it's very small, very small. And the number of people that live there is like, I can count them on my hand almost.
Right.
And she's now living in Toronto and she is so excited that she's, working on a song with you and I, right? And that's only because of technology. So depression is one thing, but technology is another. And it's so cool. Like I opened up that thing about collaborating with everyone just because I felt like it was a pandemic.
Hmm.
And a lot of people were just at home feeling really, really, lost. Not lost, but just alone. Just alone, right? And it gave them a feeling of something to do.
Mm.
And a real feeling like if you don't, get this done by Friday, or like I did, I imposed arbitrary deadlines, you know, and they would say to me, "Oh, okay, okay. Now I gotta work. I gotta get something done.
Hmm.
You know." And it gave them a sense of purpose, right? And that was something that really meant a lot to me. Just to, well, it didn't mean a lot to me at all. Like I wanted them to get the songs done because I really cared more about the music. But at the same time, I wanted everyone to feel like there was a place you could call
Hmm.
when you were feeling lonely or feeling, upset or whatever. And so many people called me that could not contribute, and they had so many weird stories. Like they were working with veterans, who were in their town, and it was like so tough because they deal with those veterans who were, like lost their legs and were upset. Who cares? Like with all kinds of weird things, right? Or they were just sad and couldn't do it because they were, you know, just just like long-winded explanations of their own sadness. And it really told me, people are alone. And that's part of what I'm trying to do is create connection all the time because people are alone all the time. Like I don't care where you are, like you're in Texas, I'm in Toronto ish. People are in New York, people are in Los Angeles, people are in Milwaukee. People can be wherever they are, but they are with themselves alone. And so part of the concept was just to make it so that they could, they're in San Francisco, Philadelphia, whatever the case is. Actually, one of the funnier things in Philadelphia in particular,
Yeah.
I had two singers from Philadelphia, which is pretty great. Obviously, Philadelphia has a great music scene,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like New York, Seattle, Los Angeles, Los Angeles. I don't know if you say Los Angeles, Los Angeles, but I say Los Angeles just for funny. But Philadelphia obviously has a great music scene, and it was nice to have two different people in the jazz community, jump in and do it, and that's pretty cool.
That's great. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I think definitely music connects you, but that way, I think what you're doing is really great in that you're kind of designing the project around creating community rather than just happening, you know, matter of factly.
Well, it's a bit of both. It's a bit of both. Like that wasn't a plan. That wasn't a plan, right? Yeah, it wasn't a plan to do that. Like you're kind of making it sound like I had an objective in the first place, which I did not.
Mm.
It just sort of happened, right? And
Okay.
that's even like the more funny thing about it because it came about naturally.
Okay.
It was just because I kept meeting people and they kept saying, why don't we do it? Why don't we do that? And that was the more the way it went.
How do you set like going forward like that's how you've seen it now, but like let's say the next album, would that be the plan? And where would you start the collaboration? Do you have a bare bone structure and then send it off to people? Do you have the fully formed song and then you're looking for some kind of addition to the sound?
Okay, yes, that's a fair enough question. Yes, so you've obviously seen, for example, I'm working on a few Christmas songs right now, and regardless of whenever this comes out, I'll still put out a Christmas record. Probably next year I might release a few singles, maybe this year or next year. It doesn't really matter. But the point is I'm making some Christmas tunes. And it's sort of the same way as I've been working in general, as I've learned. I do a lot of stuff at the Hamilton Public Library. So first of all, I get everything organized at the Hamilton Public Library. Like I record everything there. A lot of libraries don't have a sound studio,
Hmm.
but the Hamilton Public Library does. And it's so cool because you can go in there for free. And I do everything for free. And then I do everything I can just to get everything organized, just, get the basic stuff down and get the, guitars done and the piano and everything like that. And then I typically send everything off to Los Angeles to my friend Dan Konopka from this band called OK Go.
Mm-hmm. I've heard of them.
And he typically does the drums and sometimes mixes. Depends on what's going on. Sometimes he just sends the drums back, and then I keep getting vocals back in, from other people or whatever it's going to be. And maybe we go back and forth. And then other people like might send me lead guitarists stuff from Lord knows where. But it's interesting just to, work online like that. But I definitely work with the Hamilton Public Library a lot, and I want to make sure everyone loves libraries.
Mm.
And if you don't understand how hard I love libraries, I very much love the Hamilton Public Library for having this system that allows me to do this for free all the time.
Yeah, that's a killer setup because I'm not sure you'd see that in the States. I mean, there might be some places
There's
where someone.
in Chicago, I think they have one library that has a similar setup, but not quite as good. It's
Okay.
not nothing is good. Nothing is as good. So we have, to be honest.
Do you know where it's funded from? Is it?
Oh, it's from our city. It's totally from our city, and everybody loves it. Like there's no question. Like we have a whole makerspace. Like you can have,
Mm.
you can make 3D stuff. Like 3D printing is there. They've got, you can print like just imagine you want to print like a poster like 36 inches across
Mm-hmm.
and down. Well, that will cost you like $3, compared to going to a print shop and paying $72 or whatever it is you might
Right.
pay, right? Like they just charge you the print and ink. It is
Mm.
so cool, and the people are very nice. And I don't want anyone to know about this because it's, like
Then you're gonna
because exactly.
lose your plate.
But the funniest thing though is sometimes okay. So imagine like this is not just one place. This is like distributed across the city. It's like there are multiple
Mm.
locations. So most of the time, what I've been singing has been in one location, which is the closest to my house, and in that location, the actual maker space. I'm calling the maker space at this point. It's not a sound studio the way the downtown one is. Like it's not like soundproofed and everything like that.
Mm.
It is like a glass studio. It's like
Like a fishbowl.
it's a fishbowl, but it's also a classroom setting.
Mm.
But it's also in the children's area.
Okay.
So I'll be singing and staring at the children's area where the kids actually are with their mothers or their dads or whatever. And I'll be singing, and I've got my headphones on like I have right now. And you cannot imagine the noises that I'm making, because I'm singing the background vocals or whatever it's going to be, right? Like, stand up, and like everyone's like, what the, like the moms are in particular going, what the heck's going on, right? They turn around and they turn around and their kids are running towards the glass and like grabbing at the glass to see what I'm doing because it's like being in a public art exhibition, right? And those kids are, snapping at the window and the mothers in particular yanking those kids like with their hands and like trying to scold them. And then the other side is like if it's a father who's got the same kid, they don't do anything. They just look at me and they go with like a thumbs up. It's so interesting to see the dynamic, right?
Right. But I mean, hopefully you inspire a bunch of kids to try it out and keep that place going.
Oh
That
yeah.
sounds a really cool place.
One time I was outside and like the one little child, he's like probably 4 years old or 3 years old. He's like, "Mom, that was a singing guy," and it's so excited, right? And that's exactly what you want.
Yeah. No, that's perfect because then you just continue it on, for the next aspiring musicians. That's killer. Is there anything else you want to touch on your music before we move on to the non-quickfire round? I like to.
Well, the only thing is, I was outside at the library a couple days ago, and I ran into my friend Andrew McPhail, and he's the guy who made my crazy glasses,
Mm.
which look like this, these googly eye ones.
Can you see anything through those?
No, of course you can't. Of course you can't. Of course you can't. But I ran into him, and he asked me the same thing most people ask me is like, "How are you feeling after being assaulted?" About 2 years ago, when I started this record called American Dream, which is the record that is actually out. I met my friend Dan Konopka from OK Go,
Mm-hmm.
and we started working on a song called Antifa and the Supremacists. And then after he finished the drums, like maybe about a day later, something like that, 2 days later, I was assaulted by a meth addict on the street, and I was brutalized and in the hospital, and you can't tell right now, but I look like a Klingon, and my forehead looks very nice now. But it was a really, really severe beating, and
Mm.
it took almost a year and a half to get my head to look right
Mm-hmm.
and correct again. Uh, and I'm always gonna have scars, but it was a really brutal beating. And he thought that I'd been beaten maybe by the Russian mafia. When I talked to a lot of people, and I was surprised because I've never been beaten by any kind of mafia, but if any kind of mafia wants to talk to me about, how this all works, I'm always grateful.
Mm.
The good news is, they caught the person, and I just wouldn't recommend anyone being beaten or assaulted or
For sure.
mugged, and a lot of people are, of course, in every look, right? A lot of big cities, that's how it works, right?
For sure. Yeah, sorry. I mean, sorry to hear that, first of all, and I'm glad you're doing better.
And anyone who's ever been assaulted or mugged or anything like that, I'm always happy to talk to them, and because it is a very troubling experience.
Absolutely. My first normal question is, what significant negative experience have you experienced? But the follow up
I
part of
hope that answers that.
you kind of preemptively answered that, but the second part to the question is, what did you learn from the experience, if anything?
Just I wouldn't recommend it, but also if anyone ever wants to talk about, if they ever had anything like that, like if they were ever beaten by anyone or
Mm.
even if they're offended, it doesn't really matter like, how hard they're hurt. I'm always happy to talk to anyone, and like people are raped, people are beaten, people are they've got you know loved ones who are maybe they die or get sick. It doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like whatever hurts you, I'm always happy to help and just like talk you through it. So operators are standing by all the time. There is no question. You're
So
always welcome to contact me.
that's what that song is about.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was a weird song because it was kind of like my reintroduction to the world of music. But
Mm.
yeah, I was kind of reading, a lot of stuff, and then I read this operator standing by, and I thought, I just twisted it, and I wrote the song in like what 12 minutes. And then a buddy of mine said it really spoke to him a lot,
Mm.
and so then I kind of went with it, you know.
That's
Uh,
great. All right. So the next question is, what major positive experience has given you the push to follow this journey?
well, the major positive experience I would tell you is that Ace Frehley had been interviewed in the huge world of life, and Ace Frehley was the lead guitarist in Kiss,
Mm-hmm.
and I only learned how to read because I wanted to know more about what Ace Frehley was doing in the universe, and if I didn't have Ace Frehley, doing what he did, maybe I'd never read.
Interesting. Definitely a positive then.
Probably not what you're expecting, but
I don't have any expectations. That's the beauty of interviewing people. You just like whatever comes. It's great. Since you've definitely as I said,
yeah.
Indie Week is where we hooked up. So what is one resource that you found?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, let's rephrase that question. What was the biggest thing that you've come out of, like things like Indie Week? Or, what are the things that you've learned that really surprised you?
Well, I'm not going to say anything that surprised me necessarily, but so much as that, obviously, I love meeting people and I love working with other people. And the more that I learn about other people, the same way you are, pretty much, a little bit. What I found is that people are more open than maybe I would have thought,
Mm.
and I've been grateful to learn that pretty much anyone I ask, you know, doesn't really matter who they are in those contexts, like within the Indie Week world or the Sync world, or like different festivals like that.
Mm-hmm.
All are pretty much they're just human beings, right? And everybody is pretty excited if you tell them that you like their song. Well, they wrote that song, and they obviously want someone else to hear it. So no surprise, they like hearing that someone is interested. So that kind of thing. It's not so much that it was a surprise, so much as Some people are maybe more shy about all that kind of stuff. So it's been great to meet a lot of people that are
Mhm.
not shy about being honest with themselves and being honest with what they're
Mm.
doing, and honest, and for most of those people, it's just that they want to communicate.
Mhm.
But some people, like I've seen before, it's they're they may write, but they don't show up with those kinds of things, and they think that maybe being a musician means you do not market yourself, right? Like you've seen this before yourself.
For sure, absolutely. It's kind of why I started the podcast because I got that pushback of, you know, it's kind of the thing of, well, if I write music, everything should come to me.
Right.
But
Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
once you have your product, you have to, the business
Yeah.
part is the hardest part.
So, yeah, so it's been really great just meeting people that have that good open feeling about, yeah, I made this song,
Mm.
but yes, I have to go to market. And and I'm grateful to meet the people in the marketplace of the universe, And that's way more fun, to be honest. Like writing a song is one thing, but meeting people is so much more interesting, to be honest. Because once people hear your song and then
Hmm.
they say to you, that meant something to you, or like whatever my song meant to you means so much more to me after I hear you tell me that, you know?
Absolutely. So, what is one piece of advice you'd give a musician? I'm gonna say a musician looking to make more progress.
Well, constantly be more open minded. I mean, that's number one. Just be more open minded. I think that's the number one thing. Is just be open minded. Because and not to think that you know everything, because you certainly don't. And if you think you do, I can guarantee you don't. And a lot of times that's like I meet a lot of songwriters who feel that they are the next great thing. I'm not going to say a name of anything just to keep it clear. And they are locked in their own world, right?
Hmm.
And I meet guitarists who are the next, and I will say this: they think that they're the next Randy Rhoads or something like that, or like the next Eddie Van Halen.
Hmm.
But they're not working with David Lee Roth, and they're not working with Ozzy Osbourne, and they are just in their own,
Right.
little heads of thinking that they are. And like you see this all the time. And I just met someone the other day. He is working on cartoons. Like, wow, that's really great. Good. Tell me more. And like, don't get too locked into the idea that you are the be all end all. It's got to be an open minded process, because ultimately, what's going to happen is you're going to have to meet someone else who's going to have to work with you, and you're going to have to work with them, and they're going to have to be nice with you. You have to be nice with them. So you got to be like a little bit open and caring and a little bit empathetic, a little bit more caring,
Hmm.
It doesn't matter who you are or what you're doing. That's pretty much the nicest way I can think of it. Just be open minded and empathetic.
Awesome. Great advice. Thank you so much. All right. Last question is, what does music mean to you?
What doesn't it mean? Music doesn't really mean anything to me other than, you know what? Here's how I'll answer this question. It's a great question, and nobody ever asked me that. A long time ago, a friend of mine, he had moved to Hamilton. He was my roommate in university for a few years, and he was doing landscape architecture.
Hmm.
And so I moved down and just, I didn't move down, but like I lived with him for like a week. And, he was going off to work at the Royal Botanical Gardens, and I was just sitting in his house every day. He was a photographer, so he had a, like he had a black room in there, like where he's actually like making photography like real and stuff. And one day he went to work, and I had to wait around for like 3 hours or 8 hours. I don't know how long while he was going to work. But he said, why don't you, after lunch, listen to Symphony Number 3 by Henryk Górecki. I don't know if you say Górecki or Górecki. I'm not even sure, to be honest. I've never even asked anyone. But do you know who I'm talking about?
Vaguely. I'm not up on my classical.
Well, but Symphony Number 3 is, and with Dawn Upshaw singing,
Okay.
it's a 3-hour symphony. So he told me to put it on, and so I did. And at that time, Radiohead is, very popular and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I would encourage anyone to just listen to that. And if they've got, I want them to have 5 hours and just listen to Symphony Number 3. And if you don't cry by the end of the whole thing, even if you don't know, you can't even speak the language of what Dawn Upshaw is singing, I can guarantee you, it is a very affecting piece of music. And it was right up there with nothing else I've ever heard, except for, like I saw Diamantica Loss, who is also great. Have you ever heard Diamantica Loss?
Can't say I have.
Okay, so Diamantica Loss, like imagine, like, you've heard of Led Zeppelin?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's heard of Led Zeppelin. So John Paul Jones, the only person he ever agreed to work with outside of Robert Plant, at a certain point, was Diamantica Loss. She was, and she is, a Greek singer, Greek American, who is 6-octave voice, and when she sings, it just, well, you'll look around, you'll listen.
I will definitely. Yep.
So my 2 advices are Symphony Number 3 and Diamanda.
Awesome. If people want to get in touch, collaborate, listen to what your music, where can they go?
They can always go to thismaddesire.net, and they can also call me 905-981-2373. But the easiest thing is just just go to the website thismaddesire.net. And I'm sure it will be in the comments and all that kind of stuff of wherever it is that you're posting this.
Yep, I'll throw that all on the show notes for sure.
But This Mad Desire, ThisMaddesire.net. It's how it sounds.
Cool. And then at the end, I like to play a piece of music by the person I'm interviewing. So, which song would you like to play?
I was going to ask you the same question. I'm promoting, my song Operas Are Standing By, the remix.
Yep.
That my friend Felino did from Brazil. But at the same time, because you're an American, I thought, because also my last record is called American Dream.
Okay.
And you like metal kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You also might like this song called American Dream, which is the title track off of that record. And it's got a really cool guitar solo that my friend Steve Barrick did.
Mm-hmm.
And it also features my friend Dan's drumming, who I talked to you about earlier.
Awesome. Yeah. I've definitely checked it out. I haven't listened to it a bunch, but I've definitely heard it a couple of times. So yeah, let's play that one.
Excellent.
All right. So this has been a great conversation. Really appreciate you taking the time. Stay in touch. Hopefully we do another collab soon.
Sounds great. Love you more.
Thank you so much for listening. I'd really appreciate it if you would leave a review on iTunes or your favorite podcast platform, as this really helps get the word out about the podcast, so other musicians can benefit from the awesome knowledge that my guests are sharing. The more the musicians community collectively learns, the stronger we will become. A rising tide lifts all ships. This episode is sponsored by the Skinny Armadillo Printing Company in Fort Worth, Texas, offering a full range of apparel decoration and promotional items such as screen printing, embroidery, laser engraving, and much more. The Skinny Armadillo is now offering a merch fulfillment service including on-demand printing and a custom-built web store so you can concentrate on your music and running your business as a musician. Visit theskinnyarmadillo.com or call 817-546-1430 to learn how the Skinny Armadillo can help you take your merch to the next level. Keep pushing the needle and be excellent to each other. This is This Mad Desire with American Dream.
Nope. Never mind. живые вместе, Америка.
He used to drive a truck, but now it drives itself. And no one gives a truck if he survives his health. The corporations streamline to preserve their